Alright, good afternoon everyone. Looks like I'm live. Yes I am. Excellent. And for some reason my... Just noticed my webcam's not working correctly. What is going on with that? For some reason I'm only getting half of a picture. Hold on. That made it even worse. Okay, I guess I'm dealing with having camera for stream. Yeah, there we go. I can drag it and make it bigger. Second. Okay. Looks like my layers are set right. Alright, so since the last time I did stream on this game, I did finish it the next day. And based on that fact, and also the fact that I kind of had to cut the previous stream short due to technical issues with my my PS4 capturing, I figured I'd play some pre-recorded footage and just kind of talk about some aspects of the game, as well as like dig much more into the issues I had with the story. So as I said in the previous stream I did, I had done up to that point a run that was entirely melee based. I did end up beating the game without ever actually using a firearm or even any of the serums that you can craft. It was just based entirely on melee combat, and I'll kind of walk through some of the strategies that I used to get to that. So, realizing that I was going to be limiting myself right off the bat by going for the not even once pacifist trophy, where you don't kill any of the named NPCs. It's counterintuitive to the way the achievement is actually worded, but self-defense and killing people that are hunting you does not count. So it's just like the named story characters that wander around the various regions of the city. So, knowing that I wasn't going to have access to a lot of experience points and probably not most of the skills, I did not want to jack of all trades myself and to not be good at anything, so I focused pretty much entirely on stamina and healing. There's one of the starting skills you get is called autophage, where you use your own blood to heal, and I chose to max out that skill. There's two different branches that you can take. One of them is you get more heal, but it's a slower regeneration, or there's the instant heal. I max out the instant heal tree because with the playstyle I'm using, if I need healing, I need it right away. Now you can see as you target the various enemies that they'll have the symbols next to their health bar, and the symbols like that werewolf thing had a blood drop and two cross swords next to it, which means it was resistant to blood-based attacks and melee attacks. Those resistances are supposed to encourage you to kind of mix up your repertoire, but I didn't really have that luxury, so I would just kind of power through it, even if I was facing something that was resistant to melee. At this point in the game, It's probably the most powerful in relation to the enemies. I'm kind of going through the town and clearing out everything I could to try to get XP. Um, doing an entire sweep through all the available areas where we can counter enemies, including the sewers, gets you right about 1,000 XP. It's not a ton, but when you're playing on this difficulty, or this achievement base rather, every little bit helps. Thought I trimmed out that pause menu. So really, the two big things to keep in mind is that you have to manage your stamina. I max out my stamina for this particular playthrough. I did not max out my health. There's 10 tiers of stamina and health. I only did about tier 8 for health. I want to say only like tier 6 for blood. And the other thing to keep in mind besides managing your stamina is save your blood for healing. Um, I have a skill that uses a claw attack that deals aggravated damage, so enemies can't heal it, which comes in handy. A little bit in the early game. I never put any more points to it. I don't remember if I had to buy that as the way the game progresses you through the leveling tutorial the very first time, or if I just bought it out of choice. If I could have skipped it, knowing what I know now, I would have. And here you see me giving medicine to a couple of the characters that were sick in this region, so I can get sanitized the next time I rest. But that claw attack I was just talking about uses blood to activate it, and I determined pretty early on that I wanted to save my blood for healing rather than uh, for anything else.
Hello again. Good evening, Dr. Reed. Do you need medical attention?
So in the early game, before I had access to the two-handed mace I'm currently using, I was using the hatchet in one hand and
I'll be stuck here for as long as... What kind of
uh,
have armed themselves?
the bone saw in the other.
Goodbye, Mr.
The and then for one offhand weapon, I used the um, listed knife, which has a really strong blood gather um, effect as you level it up, and the other one was the what was it? One of the stakes. And it, in the early game, my tactic was to try to stun them with the stake if possible, and then deal heavier damage with the slower hatchet. And if I got wounded, I would switch to the bone saw and the listed knife, which both have some blood gathering effect. Build my blood back up, heal, and then go back in for the heavy hitting. Excuse me. This is kind of a modified, slightly modified version of that tactic, where I'm using the two-handed mace because it deals the highest damage of any of the weapons I managed to collect. I did not get all the weapons. Some of them you can only get by killing certain characters. But the two-handed mace deals, at this point, pretty crazy damage. A little bit later than this, combat started getting more difficult because this is really like the most powerful I could achieve of this character. I did manage to put a couple buffs to my ultimate attack, but as far as the melee attack itself goes, this is really the peak because the enemies start leveling beyond me a little bit after this point. But the synergy between the two is still really good because for the second set of weapons, as I said, I'm still using the bone saw and the listed knife for blood gather, and the mace is for the heavier damage. And it also has a little bit of a stun effect. So if something will stand the beating long enough, you can't eventually stun it, and which is good for two reasons. One, it can't attack you, and two, you have a chance to feed off of it. Even though I didn't really do anything to improve my blood intake from the bite attack, it's still a great way to slow down the battle and get some stamina back because it's all about the stamina. The enemy types, there was not a ton of variety. There's like four or five different human units, about 4 or 5 different ghouls, or as the game calls them, skulls. And there's a couple different vampire types you can face, and then the large beast. It's not real clear if it's supposed to be a werewolf. Werewolves are mentioned once in kind of a throwaway line in one of the conversations, and there there's some lore implications with the way the beasts operate, which makes me think there's some variant of werewolf that's not really covered. I'll talk about that a little bit more when I get into the issues I have with the storytelling in this game, because there, as I believe, I said in my last stream, there's so many missed opportunities in this game, and one of the reasons I've actually felt kind of compelled to talk about it. There's a lot of other bad games I've just played and moved on. Is as far as failures go, this one is fascinating to me. So I'm gonna back it up real quick here. So the different types of skulls you can face. There's the rogue skulls, which don't have any special uh, ability. There's the blinker skulls, which can kind of flash teleport around, very similar to the main character's dodge. And there's something called a blinker skull. I never figured out what the difference between the blinker skull and the that's not the blinker, the dazzled skull. Never figured out the difference between the dazzled skull and the rogue skull, because they don't really seem to behave any different. Um, and then there's variants of all of those that are called ill-formed, which are the ones that's just fighting, which can spit and create noxious clouds and such. Yeah, so a second ago I was fighting the ill-formed variants, and now these are the standard rogue and blinker. I don't even think I gave the blinker a chance to teleport to show that off. Oh yeah, well, yeah, there it goes. I'll skip past this fight again. Now, later on, they introduce ill-formed beasts, which have abilities very similar to the ill-formed skulls, where they kind of have they just give off like poison and can spit like that. So let me skip ahead out of the sewer. Now, if you watch any of my earliest videos on my YouTube channel, those were done with the. Oh, hold on a second. Yeah, here's some humans. I just ran right past one, so I wanted to get in on this fight before I lost XP. So, the humans come in the recruit variant, which carry the torches. Torches can deal aggravated damage, so I take them out swiftly. There is the gunner variant, which is a dude with a pistol. There was a cleric there. The clerics can do holy damage to you. I didn't give that one a chance to do anything before I slaughtered him. And then there's 2 bigger guys. One's called the Brawler. He carries a shotgun and has like a shield on his arm and a stake mounted to his arm as well. There's a Brawler right there. And that's one of the pistol guys. There's ones with crossbows that have regular and flaming crossbow variants. And one thing that's nice is the creatures won't attack each other, but the humans and creatures will fight each other. So you can kite a one of the beasts into a group of enemies like this, and then take them all out. I think that's it for this video. Yeah. So, I developed most of my combat strategies in the first two days of the game time. There's chapter 1, chapter 2. Chapter 1 is mainly introductory. There's a lot of tutorial elements and kind of pushes you into the main story. and Chapter 2 is what really starts up. Due to the way the leveling mechanic works and the kind of the consequences that will like implement themselves every time you rest, I was very hesitant to level. So this is the point I was at. You can see my stats in the upper left hand corner. I was about level 6. Very low levels of health and stamina compared to what I just had in the previous video. Not much blood either. It was about there. And I kept those stats all the way through Chapter 2. 'Cause I was like I said, I was afraid to rest prematurely. And I also didn't understand the way the mechanics worked for interacting with people. My understanding, doing research after this, it sounds like someone's not at risk of getting ill or just dying for other reasons unless you've actually interacted with them or encountered them. And there's a whole section of the city. The west end is locked off, and at this point in the game, about half of the docks on the west side is locked off. But there's still a number of people you can find that you're really meant to find in later chapters. I explored every inch of the game I could up to this, up to that point, and by the end of it, I was facing enemies that were leveled in the high teens, low 20s, like maybe 21, 21, somewhere around there. And that was kind of my crash course in the combat of the game. This is the battle against the final boss, which I did end up with. Hold on, I think it's next. Yeah, I did end up with this shotgun, the trophy I earned. Covered up the screenshot, and I never bothered taking another one. This is Milton's shotgun. You can buy off of him. He's one of the first vendors you encounter. And as far as I could tell, from what I unlocked, it was the most powerful shotgun in the game. This is the base damage, the 576 for just getting leveled up. These are damage multipliers you can put in. I did end up maxing all those out sometime after this, and I pushed the damage up to over 800 rounds, or 800 points of damage per round. It fires 2 rounds. I never did use it. I was hoarding ammo, afraid that I would die after using it and run out, because the penalty for this game is that you, if you die, any resources you used, whether it's ammo or serums, stay gone after you revive. So I was very paranoid that I would over rely on items like that. So I saved them all for this battle and then ended up not using them.
Harriet, you must stop all of this. I can't let you infect anyone.
So I could give you context for this battle before you watch it, but the game didn't really bother. Again, as I said, this game is full of odd choices. They were still doing expedition dumps immediately before this battle, and then even more in the epilogue of the game. I've never seen a game quite like this. So, that was my ultimate move. And that's another way you can break the pace of the battle and get some stamina back. So you'll see me switch back and forth between the blood gather weapons and that mace while I heal myself. She's not incredibly hard. Her most annoying attack is really that arm that has like just insane reach. Just got to keep dodging. Now I've heard, well, not heard so much as read. Some people will complain about the combat in this game. If I had a complaint about it. I would say it's a little repetitive after you start getting far enough into the game, because they kind of run out of enemy types to throw at you, and the slight modifications they make don't really break up your tactics very much. But also, I've seen people say it's possible to get stun locked in this game. I never had it happen, and I think people that have claimed they were stun locked, either it was something that got patched out in one of the earlier patches of the game. That's a possibility, and another is that they didn't understand that even if your character can't move following doing a bigger move like the ultimate, which makes them kind of go to a standstill for a couple seconds, or even taking a bigger hit to make you stagger. Even if it seems like you can't control your character, you can often still dodge, and the dodge priority is very, very high. It does not use a lot of stamina. So when in doubt, dodge. And it'll keep you out of trouble. The only real difference between my build right now and what you just saw in the first video I played is as you can see, I'm 4 levels higher, which I think I'm maybe put a point into blood. I don't think so. I leveled up the blood barrier ability to the point where instead of taking 30 seconds to recharge, it only takes 15, which is helpful. And also, it does damage when it dissipates, and it'll dissipate either after 5 seconds of being deployed, or when you take a hit. And the damage it deals actually will stagger enemies or break their flow of attack. So it's really those points well spent. And then I put a little bit more into my my veil walking and my ultimate ability, because they synergize pretty well with each other and give you some more damage output. Then the rest of it is just dodge, keep your blood full, don't run out of stamina. It also really helps that she does not have any resistances to melee weapons. Or range, for that matter. I probably could have taken it on faster if I'd used that shotgun.
No one could ever defeat you, mother of us all, for you are our every root and leaf.
So, where are these characters? Don't know. What's the context to this? Not real clear.
And smile at us from your dreams.
Did they feel my wrath? Have they suffered enough?
So the big driving force mystery of the game is that your character is trying to discover who his maker was, and it's the horn dude on the left, who apparently creates a champion to fight his mother whenever she decides that she wants to walk on the world and destroy it. That's what you're given for your motivation there.
Old Bridget, what are you doing here?
But the game does not do a great job ultimately explaining who those characters are, what their motivations are. I mean, beyond what I just said, it's just the barest of surface level stuff. There's no real intrigue, no real depth to it. Which is a good segue into discussing my issues I had with the plot and the writing of some of the characters. So, as I mentioned in the first stream I did, you are stuck doing minimum 5 button presses from the point you load in to the point that you start playing the game. Yet you have to get past 2 different warnings: the atmospheric title screen, then the load screen, then select your load. I really kind of prefer games like No Man's Sky. I've been playing a lot lately. That has 2 button clicks. One, if you want to play a solo game or try to join a friend's game, and then 2, selecting your load. Done. Game loads. It just shrieks bad game design when you it's like a chore to even log into the game. So at some point in this is the first time you encounter this character, Lady Ashbury, who becomes oh yeah, wait, there's the obligatory Dracula reference, which they doubled on later by actually having copies of the book Dracula referenced or laying around.
Now do me a kindness and get some sleep. I'll be back round later.
I don't know if it's intentional or not, but speaking of vampire references of works other than this game, there's a character with the last name Petrescu, who you can encounter in Whitechapel, and it's not an uncommon name. I believe it's Ukrainian. I actually looked this up and I forgot. So it's not a terribly uncommon name, but it does have a vampire related link. I don't know if it's intentional or not. There was a horror themed PC game in the late 90s. It was one of the first games that ever used volumetric lighting, and the name of the game completely escapes me. But there was vampire Svetlana Petrescu in that game, so the name always stuck out to me.
Your words are kind, the blessings of an angel. You're the sweet, sweet lady of mercy.
So
Evening, Dr. Reed. It's a pleasure to see you again. You seem surprised.
these 2 characters have this
Somebody has brought
tremendous
you
romance in this game,
your
and there's kind of a dose of sarcasm with that, because despite them professing love for each other
Saved me that night.
kind of out of nowhere, never really feels that there's any kind of chemistry.
Not with Dr. Swansea.
So I don't know if it's an issue with the actors
Allow me to introduce
or
myself formally.
the direction they were given for the voice acting, or the writing,
I remember you
combination of all 3.
in spite of the brevity of our encounter.
So for one thing, the game has these Y-shaped choice paths for a lot of different conversations and stuff. Some of these are meaningless. You can choose any result you want. It's not going to change the game. Some of them will lock you out of various further conversations. You can lose access to hints, side quests, and otherwise have some big consequences attached to them. You never know when it's going to happen, but that's one of the core game features. And in a game that auto saves, kind of like Dark Souls does, having triggers like this dialogue based just rubbed me the wrong way. So you can get far enough into the game, and you're after a certain achievement, you can totally blow it through one conversation choice and never be able to get it. For instance, if you're going after the not even once achievement, which I'll talk about a little bit more later, if you make the wrong choice for some of the characters, their death will be credited to you, and you won't get the achievement. And so some of those choices are not as clear as they could be.
Apologies. You've taken me by surprise.
Another thing that irritated me about this game, and this is probably more of a side effect of the fact I played it on the PlayStation 4 rather than on the PC, is
Answer my questions now.
it takes
You must have
both
some
hands
questions.
on the controller to select these conversation choices. They're not they're not numbered
Cover
or assigned to a button, or
has been compromised.
so you can't like scroll through your phone.
Have any of the patients
So if I've been playing it on the PC, I probably just set the mouse aside and play my guitar during some of these choices, and then just tap the keyboard every once in a while. But unfortunately, it's not a choice on the PlayStation. You are stuck holding the controller the entire time,
You make me blush.
and nothing to distract you from the blandness of these conversations. I mean, so here's another thing
The newborn.
that really irritated me about the way these conversations went. Oops.
You make me blush. I am
Ah, man, I was way too efficient on that conversation. Okay, so these yellow marked dialogue options, that is going to progress you to the next story part of the conversation, and you can totally skip these other two. So because I'm trying to get the most out of the experience I can, I always chose the additional responses if there were any before moving on to the the story response. And unfortunately, what they ended up doing, and again, I'm gonna say this kind of hooks back to the bad writing thing I've been harping on. Pretty much everything that is talked about in these extra things is going to be regurgitated or rehashed in here because the devs want to make sure you didn't miss anything. This is especially noticeable in the very final part of the epilogue, because there is a book that you find right before the big last conversation of the game, and it's, I would say, all but impossible to miss, because you come down this stairway and it's sitting on an altar right in front of you, and it goes through the history of one of the main characters. Well, not actually, he's not a main character. He's just very influential in the story. William Marshall, one of the knights, famous knights of Britain. Um, he in the lore of this game was a vampire, and is actually sired by the same vampire, that glowing horned blood guy you saw in the last video clip I played. That is the vampire maker of the main character of this game. So this this character I'm talking to right now, she's the adopted daughter of William Marshall. He's the one that turned her into a vampire. And this book goes through a lot of their backstory, their history, this huge information exposition dump right toward the end of the game. And then you walk a little bit further, you encounter both her and William Marshall together, talk to them. They tell you almost everything that is in that book, because the devs are afraid that you maybe didn't pick the book up, so they got to go through it again. And as you go through the conversation, which has many of these branching type things, you will hear bits and pieces of it in the bonus dialogue, and then you get to the required story dialogue, and then rehash it again. So in a very short period of time, you have the same exposition chunks thrown at you 3 different times. What should have been like the emotional crescendo of the game was long, drawn out, tedious. I was looking at my watch, waiting for it to be over. And so she talks about how he's a new vampire, and really not a whole lot of substance despite the long conversation. The other thing I had an issue with this game, this isn't kind of it's not a weird one. For whatever reason, a lot of the characters have this exaggerated, drunken Bob. Now you do legit run into some characters that are actually drunk. But yeah, she makes me seasick. And I guess this is as good a time as any to start breaking down the issues I had with the story. As I touched on in the previous video that I did, the game sets it up so you assume that you turn your sister into a vampire, because immediately the first thing your character does is attack the first person he meets, because he just woke up from his rebirth as a vampire. attacks the first person he sees, drains their blood, and it happens to be his sister. The second they had the reveal that he killed his sister, I was like, okay, so she'll be a vampire, and that'll be a story mechanic, or big major plot point. And a little bit later in the game, when you're one of the times you talk to Lady Ashbury, she tells you that to create a vampire progeny of your own, they have to drink your blood. And in the couple times in the game, you can create other vampires, and it always involves um, them drinking his blood. He like cuts open the vein in his wrist, they drink it, and eventually become a vampire. That never happens in the attack on his sister. It's they set it up at the beginning of the game. You assume it's going to happen, and then the lore of the game tells you nope, it's not going to happen. So then, like almost immediately afterward, she comes out, and it's not even the fact that they broke their own lore to have this big reveal. It's also that it was completely wasted. It would have been much more effective storytelling, in my opinion, if there had been a longer um, interaction with the sister. You don't get that. She appears literally in one part of the game. She appears, fights you, you kill her. That's it. There could have been a long, drawn out. Um, well, actually, drawn out's not the right word. The, there could have been a more satisfying use of her. She she could have been kind of like your polar opposite, like kind of like a nice little Republic 2 element, where like if you go down the dark path, she goes on on the light, or vice versa. So you're always kind of um, going at each other. That could have been an excellent dynamic to the game. Um, you could have just had to go, stop her, from something. I don't know. Almost anything else would have been more satisfying than just having her appear for shock value and then having to fight her and kill her. It was it was annoying because it was lore breaking. It was annoying because it was a wasted opportunity. Um, so then the big focus of the game becomes him trying to figure out who his creator is, which again, this since the lore is established that vampires know who create them. The amnesia he has regarding this makes absolutely no sense because even Um, William Marshall didn't understand he was a vampire. Um, he was a very devout and religious focused knight, and he was convinced that the Archangel Michael had granted him immortality, which is fine. I don't have an issue with that, but he knew that someone visited him and granted him these abilities. Whether he was in denial about his actual own nature isn't the point. The point is he knew he became a vampire or immortal. He knew someone came, stole these powers on him. The fact that the main character of this game has amnesia about it makes no sense. It is, and it creates it's an unneeded attempt to create like some kind of conflict that just didn't need to be there. Because like every interaction that he has with his maker is very confrontational, even past the point where it needs to be. Oh, where was I not? Where was I at? Okay, so yeah, the early story, the early driving force of the story is him trying to figure out who his maker is. And then what kind of gets tacked onto that is the vampire epidemic, which is like mingled with the Spanish flu um, epidemic of 1918. Which I'll talk about that for a minute. It's weird sitting at home in the COVID lockdown in 2020 playing this game where everyone's like quarantined and not talking to each other, and some even wearing face masks because of the Spanish flu in 1918. That was kind of a weird feeling. But so the main character is a doctor. He was an innovator and pioneer in the field of blood transfusions and blood research. which it becomes explained to him later that that's one of the reasons why his maker chose him to be the champion for this, because he thought that his background in blood science would give him a head start on trying to stop this epidemic. And the timeline breaks down almost immediately from that point. The character that you saw me fighting in the boss video, the first one, not the Blood Queen. She was a patient at the hospital who was pardon me, who was the doctor, one of the doctors at the hospital, the head doctor at the hospital. He had done an unethical experiment on her using vampire blood, actually Lady Ashbury's blood, which ended up causing a reaction that she spread to her daughter that came to visit her. And her daughter became like one of the big spreaders of the disease. You fight her in the theater and end up killing her because she was a famous actress, and she's using her her position and popularity to draw people to the theater and then have them spread the disease. So one of the reasons that doesn't make any sense is don't understand why the woman at the hospital progressed so much slower in her development into one of the disease spreaders. It kind of heavily insinuates that you would start encountering the ill-formed or like a plague-carrying variants of the ghouls much sooner than you actually do. It's this game is a weird experience to play because as you got farther into it, there's almost always something you came across that just felt out of place or seemed to contradict something that happened earlier. I gotta stop watching her because she's making me dizzy. And then the other piece story wise, I've already talked about the fact that the romance angle kind of felt like it came out of nowhere and never seemed to really have anything backing up other than the character saying, "Oh yeah, you're the love of my life," that I've known for 3 days. That was awkward. Yeah, I don't know what else I could really say about the story. The not quite story related, but another example of a wasted opportunity, and I kind of mentioned this a little bit in my previous stream, is the fact that you have all these different people in each different section of the city. You take care of their health because if they get sick and die, it affects the one for purely selfish reasons for your character. It'll affect the buy sell rate he gets at the shops in that district. It also can affect your ability to get the knife and once trophy if they die off. It also, as they start dying off, apparently more enemies will start spawning in the city and stronger enemies. So I don't know how much that would actually make the game more difficult, since if you're killing these guys off, you're probably getting more XP anyway. Because if by going the 90 once route, I left tens of thousands of points of experience just sitting out there I didn't tap into. But one of the things that you're supposed to do, if you're trying to max these people out for sucking their blood experience, you learn hints about their life and their motivations and such. And some of the characters actually are very interesting. Their dynamics and relationships, I would say, probably more interesting than some of the stuff that goes on in the main story itself. And like I said in the I touched on it a little bit in the previous stream, just happened to run by the one character. She was especially intriguing to me because she's being manipulated by a vampire, to live in the street and hunt on and eat rats. and you uncover that, and it's kind of sad. And I had the thought or expectation that that discovering all the stuff about her and her horrible condition would unlock a side quest where you could, go liberate her from this vampire that's holding sway over her. Not even talked about, not even discussed. You just find out she's in this horrible condition, and then go on about your business. Um, lot of depth and uh, extra gameplay could have been added to that. Right down the street from the character is the main character of this game, Dr. Reed, his best friend who just got back from World War One, a couple months before the doctor did, and he saw a vampire eat someone while he was in France, so he knows vampires are real, and he's putting up posters and putting up pamphlets and trying to convince everyone the vampires are real and need to be stopped. And of course, everyone, including his wife, thinks that he's absolutely insane. Um, and as you unravel more about him and his wife's relationship, you find out that she's actually poisoning him, trying to kill him. And you can tell him that she's doing this, but he doesn't believe it. And then it stops. You can't do anything. You try to rectify the situation. Not only is that disappointing, it's character breaking for the main character, who supposedly this is his best friend, just turns his back on it and does nothing further. Absolutely makes no sense. Absolutely is a huge missed opportunity for some kind of resolution or side quest or something. Um, another one that bugged me. There's a woman and her daughter that have this really obviously screwed up codependent relationship. I don't even know if I call it codependent, because the mom is just horrendously abusive and physically, and then gaslights her emotionally. So this girl is convinced that she's a klutz and a danger to herself. And meanwhile, her mom's escalating, the physical abuse to the point where she's slashing her with knives, and the doctor tells both of them, you're at the point where you're going to end up, uh, killing her or being killed, respectively. Heartbreaking. Nothing's done with it. There's a serial killer you come across in the game, real early in the game, and I had expected that after you unlock all the different hints and secrets of his social circle between his mom and this homeless kid that lives in the area, I assumed that eventually you'd be able to bring this guy to justice. No, nothing. This dude's a serial killer going around killing people. Don't care. And the game is just full of these opportunities to make use of the world building effort they put into it, but instead it just sits there and does nothing. Yeah, I guess that's really about all I can really say about the writing. It has moments where the story is interesting, and so many missteps where they shoot themselves in the foot and don't take full advantage of what they're doing. And they love their massive exposition dumps. To the point where it is excruciatingly tedious to sit through some of them. Yeah. I gave the game a C minus recommendation. Actually, not so much recommendation. Before I finished it, my last review, having finished it, I'm not sure if it stayed C minus or actually would bump down to D plus. The the only thing for me that kept me going is, one, I guess some sunken cost fallacy going on, because I spent so much time struggling through the first couple days of the game before I started getting a better handle on the mechanics, that I figured I'd invested so much time, but I might as well see my way through this thing. And two, I did like the combat. It does get a little repetitive, but like there are some good moments where you can kite a werewolf in a group of vampire hunters and just watch the havoc ensue. And as hard as the combat can be, because like if you watch my previous video, the battle I had against McCullen, he had a combo with his sword where if I took every one of those hits, I was dead from full health. Um, just a razor thin margin for error for a lot of it. And for for me, I might get frustrated and and yell at the TV, but at the end of the day, that's the kind of challenge I enjoy because like getting an actual adrenaline rush out of a game these days is hard. Um, so on the strength of the combat, I enjoyed it. Not enough to recommend the game though, because most people will probably assume that this is just it's just a masochistic grind. And if you're not going for the not even once trophy, maybe it's not. Can't speak to that, and I don't plan on replaying it. And yeah, so the not even once trophy, I will talk about that a little bit. There's a lot of conflicting information online about what choices you have to make to actually unlock this trophy. Um, Basically, you need to keep all of the named characters alive, or at least not be the reason why they died. Um, so in the second, at the end of the second chapter, the first big choice you have is how to deal with Dorothy Crane, one of the nurses at the hospital who goes and starts like a rogue clinic in Whitechapel. Um, your options are to uh, kill her. I don't even remember what the second option was, but the a third option was to kind of like partner up with her, where you help her get resources from the hospital and keep her out of trouble. And that's the choice to make there because it keeps that area healthy, keeps her from getting killed. The third at the end of the third chapter, one of the characters you save in the prologue ends up becoming infected and turning into a skull, and there's signs that he's degenerating into something nasty coming up. So you can either take him at his word that he'll be good and not cause trouble, kill him, or sacrifice some of your own blood and experience to. It doesn't turn him into a vampire, but stabilizes his condition and he doesn't go insane. That's the right choice to make there. Um, trying to remember the other choices that were involved in this. 5 big ones. I feel like I'm forgetting one. You had the choice to turn McCullen into a vampire or let him go. Turning him into a vampire not something good idea to me. I turned him in. I just let him go. There was not a third choice for him. I'm not sure if that's one of the ones that's involved or not. Um, the big one that I struggled with making the choice for, and I was really worried I made the wrong one. Um, Aloysius Dawson, you can turn him into a vampire, you can kill him, or if you talk to the right people and gather the right clues, you can get him to let go of his fear of death and just die peacefully as an old man because he was about to die anyway. And I made that choice. I convinced him to just accept death, and I still got the trophy. And it was relatively beneficial because you actually see the result of that choice in my last video. He donated a lot of money to the local areas and hospitals, which like apparently cured everyone of any illness that was going to be ill at that point. Um, which sanitized all the regions, and it only gave the region he was in a couple percentage points. So it hit for him dying, so it still stayed healthy. So that wasn't bad. And I turned Dr. Swansea at the end into a vampire. That one I struggled with because he was the unethical cause of all the issues. Um, so I'm not sure. I'm sure killing him would have been wrong. I'm not sure if letting him die would have got you out of this trophy or not. I feel like there's another significant choice that I'm not remembering. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I wanted to cover for this video. I wanted to cover some of the um, combat, show that boss battle, talk about issues of the story, and discuss the requirements for that trophy. That's pretty much it. As I said, I don't plan on replaying the game to get all the different collection trophies, which you pretty much have to do with a quote unquote evil playthrough, because some of the items are held by characters, and you can only get them by killing them. So yeah, I won't be able to give you a guide on that, but if you have other questions about the game, give me a message on Facebook or here or on my Twitter. And if you're seeing this on my my YouTube channel, then please click like, subscribe, notify, and have a good one. See you guys later.